The rope went taut at exactly 3 in the afternoon, and the crowd roared like animals hungry for blood. Lucian Ashford heard it from his carriage 2 streets away, the ugly sound of humans celebrating death. He'd heard it 1,000 times over 4 centuries. It never got less pathetic. He leaned back against the velvet seat, examining his rings with the bored expression of someone who'd seen every horror humanity could conjure and invented a few worse ones himself. His driver knew better than to stop. But then came a sound that cut through the noise like a blade through silk. A child's scream. Not of fear. Of absolute devastation. Lucian's eyes snapped open, their color shifting from dark amber to something ancient and burning. The carriage lurched as his driver finally halted. Before the wheels fully stopped, a small body threw itself against the door. Tiny fists pounded against the wood with desperate strength. The door opened. Lucian stared down at the little girl collapsed at his feet, her face streaked with tears and dirt, her Sunday dress torn at the hem. She couldn't have been more than 7 years old. She looked up at him, and despite the terror in her eyes, despite surely knowing what he was, every monster story she'd ever been told made flesh, she grabbed the edge of his coat with trembling fingers. Her voice cracked as she spoke 4 words that would change everything. "They hung my mom, save her." Lucian's expression didn't change. Around them, his guards tensed, waiting for him to brush her off, to leave her crying in the street. That's what the Vampire King did. He didn't involve himself in human affairs. He didn't save anyone. The girl's grip tightened. "Please. She's innocent. Please." For a long moment, Lucian simply stared at her. His face was beautiful and terrible, the kind of face that had launched wars and ended dynasties. 400 years of cruelty had carved themselves into the set of his mouth. But something flickered behind his eyes. Something old and buried. He'd had a sister once, a lifetime ago. She'd looked at him like this, with complete faith that he could fix anything. Right before they burned her. Lucian stood in one fluid motion, his coat billowing around him like dark wings. The little girl stumbled back, and for a heartbeat, fear replaced hope in her expression. Then he spoke, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority, touched with an accent from a country that no longer existed. "Show me." The girl's face transformed. She grabbed his hand, hers so small it disappeared in his grip, and pulled him toward the town square with desperate urgency. Lucian's guards followed, hands on weapons, confusion written across their faces. In 300 years of serving him, they'd never seen him respond to a human plea. The crowd came into view, packed thick around the gallows, and Lucian's jaw tightened. He could smell death on the air, fresh and copper sweet. The woman was still hanging, her body swaying slightly in the wind, the afternoon sun illuminating her like some grotesque religious painting. But her fingers twitched. Still alive. Barely. The girl was sobbing now, trying to push through the crowd, too small to make any progress. They hung her for stealing medicine. She didn't steal anything. She's good. She's all I have. Please, please, please. Lucian's eyes swept the scene with predatory focus. The mayor stood on the platform, reading charges from a scroll. Guards surrounded the gallows, hands on rifles. The crowd pressed close, eager for the spectacle. And there, in the back corner, partially hidden by shadow, 3 men in expensive suits watched with expressions of quiet satisfaction. Lucian's eyes narrowed. He knew corruption when he saw it. He perfected it, after all. A smile curved his lips, the kind that made grown men reconsider their life choices. It held no warmth, only dark amusement and the promise of terrible things. Oh, this was going to be fun. He stepped forward, and the crowd parted before him like water before a shark. No one needed to announce him. Everyone knew. The sudden silence was deafening. The mayor's face went pale as snow. Lucian Ashford didn't attend public executions. Lucian Ashford barely acknowledged the human government that operated at his pleasure in his city. Lucian Ashford certainly didn't interrupt them. The Vampire King stopped at the base of the gallows, still holding the little girl's hand, and looked up at the hanging woman with an expression of mild curiosity. "Cut her down," the mayor stammered. "My lord, the sentence has been carried out, the law demands." Lucian's gaze shifted to him, and the mayor's words died in his throat. "I don't recall asking for a conversation. I said cut her down. Unless you'd like to take her place and we can discuss the law while you're dancing on air. I'm told I'm an excellent conversationalist. Before we continue, I need to know something. Where in the world are you watching this from? Are you listening to this in the middle of the night, during your commute, or maybe hiding under your covers? Drop your city or country in the comments. I genuinely want to know where my story found you today, because knowing you're out there, connecting with these characters, that's what makes these long nights of writing worth it. And listen, if you've made it this far, you're clearly hooked. Don't just watch in silence. Hit that subscribe button and join the fastest growing vampire love stories community on YouTube. We've got so many twisted, beautiful, heartbreaking stories planned, and you're special. You found us. Don't miss what's coming next. Now, let's see what Lucian does next, because I promise you, it's going to be brutal. The guards moved fast, terror making them efficient. The rope was cut within seconds, and the woman's body crumpled to the platform like a puppet with severed strings. Lucian was there before she hit the ground, moving with speed that human eyes couldn't track. He caught her with unexpected gentleness, lowering her to the wooden planks as the little girl scrambled up the stairs behind him. "Mama. Mama, please." The woman's lips were blue, her throat brutally compressed, windpipe nearly crushed. A human doctor would have called it. Too much damage. Too little time. But Lucian wasn't human, and he hadn't survived 4 centuries by accepting limitations. He bit his wrist without hesitation, the sharp points of his fangs sliding through his own flesh. Blood welled up, dark and ancient. He pressed it to the woman's lips, forcing her mouth open, letting drops fall onto her tongue. The crowd gasped. Vampire blood was legend. Healing. Power. Addiction. It was also forbidden to share with humans under penalty of final death. Lucian didn't even glance at them. His entire focus was on the woman's face, watching for the moment his blood hit her system. Her body convulsed. Her eyes flew open, wide and terrified and alive. She choked, coughed, gasped in a breath that sounded like broken glass scraping through her throat. But she was breathing. The little girl threw herself across her mother's chest, sobbing so hard her whole body shook. "Mama. I knew he'd save you. I knew it." The woman's trembling hand came up to cradle her daughter's head, and her eyes, still filled with the confusion of someone pulled back from death's door, found Lucian's face. She should have been grateful. Relieved. Instead, recognition flashed across her features, followed immediately by something Lucian hadn't expected. Rage. Her voice came out wrecked, barely a whisper, but it carried the weight of years of buried fury. "You." Lucian's expression shifted, curiosity replacing amusement. The woman tried to sit up, still weak, still dying by all natural laws, kept alive only by the vampire blood rewriting her cells. "You don't remember me." "Of course you don't." Her hand shook as she pointed at him, at the 3 men in expensive suits now trying to slip away through the crowd. 20 years ago, your business partner, the one in the gray suit, he killed my husband. Framed him for theft. Took everything we had. I went to your estate. I begged your guards to let me see you. I had proof. Documents. She coughed, blood on her lips, but pushed forward. "They turned me away," said the Vampire King. "Doesn't hear human complaints. And that man," she gestured weakly toward the mayor, "he's been bleeding this city dry ever since, and you've let him because he pays you tribute." The little girl looked between her mother and Lucian, confusion and fear mixing on her young face. The crowd had gone silent again, but this time the quality was different. This wasn't awe. This was tension. Dangerous tension. Lucian remained perfectly still, his face unreadable. When he finally spoke, his voice was soft, almost gentle, which somehow made it more terrifying. "What's your name?" The woman blinked, thrown by the question. "Catherine. Catherine Wells." "And your husband?" "James. James Wells." Lucian stood slowly, gracefully, his coat settling around him. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a phone, pressed a single button. His eyes never left Catherine's face. Whoever answered clearly started speaking, but Lucian cut them off. "Victor. Pull the financial records from 20 years ago. Every business dealing, every contract, every payment. I want the name James Wells cross-referenced with every associate, employee, and partner in my organization." He paused, listening. "I don't care if it takes all night. I want it in an hour." He hung up and looked down at Catherine, and something had changed in his expression. The amusement was gone. What remained was colder. Older. More honest. "If what you say is true, Mrs. Wells, and someone acting under my name, using my protection, killed an innocent man and destroyed your family, then a debt is owed. And I always pay my debts." He turned to face the crowd, and his voice rose, filling the square with effortless command. "This execution is suspended pending investigation. Anyone who has a problem with that can address it with me personally." No one moved. No one breathed. Lucian's gaze found the three men in suits, now frozen like rabbits before a wolf. "Gentlemen, don't leave town. We have much to discuss." The threat in those words could have cut diamond. Then he looked at the mayor, still standing on the gallows platform, his face the color of curdled milk. "You. My estate. Tonight. Bring every record of every charge filed in the city for the past 20 years. It wasn't a request." Lucian turned back to Catherine and her daughter, and his expression softened almost imperceptibly. He crouched down to the little girl's level, and when he spoke, there was something almost kind in his tone. "What's your name, little one?" The girl sniffled, wiping her nose on her sleeve. "Lily." "Well, Lily. Your mother needs a doctor, a real one, and rest. My carriage will take you home. My guards will make sure no one bothers you." He stood, addressing Catherine again. "Rest tonight. Heal. Tomorrow, you're going to tell me everything. Every name. Every detail. Every crime committed in my city while I was too arrogant to pay attention." Catherine stared at him, disbelief warring with exhausted hope. "Why? Why do you suddenly care?" Lucian was quiet for a long moment, and something ancient and pained flickered across his features. "Because a brave little girl reminded me that power without responsibility is just tyranny. And I've been a tyrant long enough." He gestured, and his guards moved forward immediately, helping Catherine to her feet with surprising gentleness. Lily clung to her mother's hand, but kept looking back at Lucian with wide eyes. As they were carefully escorted toward his carriage, Lucian remained in the square, his gaze sweeping across the assembled crowd. "Let me be very clear. This city operates under my sufferance. I've allowed you your governments, your laws, your little human games because they amused me and stayed out of my way." His voice dropped, became something sharp and deadly. But if I find that corruption has been flourishing in my shadow, if I discover that innocent people have been persecuted while guilty men prospered using my name as a shield, then I'm going to remind everyone why my family has ruled this territory for 300 years. He smiled, and it was the smile of a predator who just remembered he was apex. And trust me, you don't want that reminder. He walked away, leaving chaos and whispers in his wake. That night, Lucian sat in his study surrounded by 2 decades of financial records, and the rage that built in his chest was older than countries. Victor, his head of security and oldest friend, stood nearby, his expression grim. "It's worse than we thought." Lucian didn't look up from the documents spread across his mahogany desk. "Tell me." Gregory Holt, the man in the gray suit, he's been running a protection racket for 18 years. Businesses that don't pay face false charges. Theft. Fraud. Sometimes worse. The mayor signs the warrants. The judges issue the sentences. They split the confiscated property and assets. And they've been paying me tribute with stolen money. Victor nodded. James Wells owned a pharmacy. He refused to pay. Holt framed him for selling the legal substances, had him arrested, and executed. He took the pharmacy, sold it, pocketed the profit. Catherine Wells lost everything. She's been working 3 jobs trying to keep her daughter fed. The document in Lucian's hand crumpled. How many others? At least 40 we can confirm. Probably more. Lucian finally looked up, and his eyes had gone completely black, the way they did before he did something irreversible. "Bring them to me. All of them. Holt. The mayor. Every judge who signed a false warrant. Every guard who carried out an execution they knew was wrong." Victor hesitated. "If you do this publicly, if you overturn their entire system, there will be chaos. The human government will fracture. There could be riots." "Good." Lucian stood, began pacing with predatory grace. "They've been comfortable too long. Operating in shadows, assuming I was too powerful or too indifferent to care what they did to each other." He stopped at the window, looking out over the city lights. "I've spent 300 years maintaining the balance. Letting humans govern themselves. Interfering only when supernatural matters arose. I thought it was restraint. Wisdom." His reflection in the glass was ancient and angry. It was laziness. And people like Catherine Wells paid the price for my negligence. Victor watched his oldest friend with concerned eyes. "You can't save everyone, Lucian. You're not responsible for every human injustice." Lucian turned, and there was something raw in his expression. "That child looked at me like I was a hero. Like I was someone who protects the innocent. Do you know how long it's been since anyone looked at me that way?" He laughed, bitter and sharp. "I'm a monster, Victor. I've done terrible things. I've ended bloodlines. I've burned cities. I've made choices that still wake me up at night after 200 years. His voice dropped. "But I had reasons. Always reasons. Survival. Protection of my people. Justice for wrongs done to my family." He gestured toward the documents. This is just greed. Petty human greed wearing the mask of law. And they did it in my name, under my protection. So yes, I'm going to burn their entire corrupt system to the ground. And I'm going to make sure everyone knows why." Victor sighed. "You're going soft." Lucian's expression shifted into something sharper, more dangerous. "No. I'm remembering who I was before I became this. Before I decided that distance was the same as strength." He moved back to his desk, began making notes in his precise, old-fashioned handwriting. My sister used to say that power meant nothing if you didn't use it to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. I dismissed it as naive sentiment. He paused, pen hovering over paper. Maybe she was the smart one after all. Victor knew better than to argue when Lucian got like this, righteous and dangerous. What about the woman? Catherine? What about her? She hates you. You saw her face. She blames you for her husband's death, for 20 years of suffering. As she should. I may not have given the order, but I created the conditions that allowed it. Lucian's jaw tightened. I'll make it right. However long it takes. And the girl? Lily? Lucian was quiet for a long moment, and something complicated crossed his features. She has her mother back. That's enough. But Victor had known him too long. You care about them. Both of them. Lucian's eyes flashed warning. I care about justice. Victor smiled slightly. You haven't cared about justice in a century. You've cared about order. About territory. About keeping the supernatural world hidden and the human world manageable. He moved closer. That little girl got through your defenses in 5 seconds. Made you feel something other than boredom and controlled fury. Lucian stood abruptly, the chair scraping against marble. Enough. Victor raised his hands in surrender, but his smile remained. Just saying. It's been a very long time since you let yourself be human, even a little bit. Lucian's voice went cold. I'm not human. Haven't been for 400 years. Don't confuse one act of intervention with some kind of redemption arc. Then why are your hands shaking? Lucian looked down. Victor was right. A fine tremor ran through his fingers, adrenaline and something deeper, something he'd buried so long he'd forgotten its name. Fear. Not of the corruption, not of the confrontation to come. Fear that he'd looked into that little girl's eyes and made a promise he couldn't keep. That he'd raised hope in Catherine Wells only to disappoint her again. That for one moment, he'd wanted to be the hero they thought he was, instead of the monster he knew himself to be. He forced his hands still through sheer will. Get them. Tomorrow at sunset. The town square. Public tribunal. Victor nodded and headed for the door. Lucian? He turned back. She was right. Your sister. Power means nothing without purpose. Then he was gone, leaving Lucian alone with his rage and his records and the uncomfortable feeling that his carefully controlled existence had just developed cracks he couldn't seal. The attack came just before dawn. Catherine woke to the sound of breaking glass and Lily's scream. She was still weak, her throat bruised and healing, but maternal instinct overrode everything. She threw herself out of bed and into Lily's room just as 2 men in dark clothes climbed through the shattered window. One of them grabbed Lily. The other turned toward Catherine with a knife that gleamed in the dim light. Should have stayed dead, the man hissed. Catherine lunged for her daughter, but her body betrayed her, still recovering, still broken. She stumbled, and the knife came up. It never landed. The man's arm bent backward with a crack that echoed through the small room. He screamed, and then he was flying through the air, hitting the wall with enough force to leave a dent in the plaster. Lucian stood in the doorway, his hair slightly disheveled, his shirt unbuttoned at the collar like he dressed in a hurry. His eyes were completely black, and the rage rolling off him made the temperature in the room drop 10 degrees. The second man dropped Lily and ran for the window. He didn't make it. Lucian moved, grabbed him by the throat, and slammed him against the wall hard enough to crack bone. His voice came out in a growl that wasn't entirely human. Who sent you? The man choked, couldn't answer. Lucian loosened his grip just enough. Who sent you, Holt said, to clean up loose ends before the tribunal. Lucian's smile was terrible. How convenient. I needed more evidence of conspiracy to commit murder. Thank you for volunteering. He looked at the two men, both now groaning in pain, thoroughly incapacitated. Victor appeared in the doorway, along with 3 guards. Lucian didn't even glance at them. Take them to the holding cells. Make sure they're comfortable enough to testify tomorrow. After that, I don't care what happens to them. The guards moved efficiently, dragging the would-be assassins away. Lucian finally turned to Catherine and Lily. The blackness faded from his eyes, returning them to that unusual amber. His expression softened. Are you hurt? Catherine was shaking, adrenaline and weakness combining. She pulled Lily tight against her. How did you know? I stationed guards on your street. When they reported movement toward your house, I came myself. He looked around the small, shabby room with its peeling wallpaper and second-hand furniture, really seeing how Catherine and Lily had been living. Something tightened in his jaw. Pack a bag. Both of you. You're staying at my estate until this is finished. Catherine's chin came up despite her trembling. No. Lucian's eyebrow raised. That wasn't a request. I don't care. I'm not taking charity from you. The words came out harsh, bitter. Lily looked between them with wide, frightened eyes. Lucian's expression didn't change, but his voice gentled. It's not charity. It's protection. They'll come back, and next time I might not arrive in time. Catherine's hands tightened on Lily. The fear in her eyes roared with stubborn pride. Why do you even care? 20 years you've ruled this city. 20 years I've been struggling, suffering, and you never noticed. Now suddenly you're a hero? Her voice cracked. You don't get to swoop in and fix everything just because your conscience finally woke up. Lucian was quiet for a long moment. Then he did something that shocked her. He sat down on Lily's small bed, bringing himself to eye level, making himself less threatening. You were right. Catherine blinked. I don't get to fix this. I don't get forgiveness. I don't deserve your trust. He looked directly at her, and there was something raw in his gaze. But your daughter is 7 years old, and men with knives just broke into her room. So you can hate me all you want, Catherine. I've been hated by better people for worse reasons. He stood, gestured to the broken window, the blood on the floor. But right now, pride is a luxury you can't afford. So pack a bag, or don't. Either way, you're both coming with me. Mama, Lily's small voice cut through the tension. I'm scared. Catherine looked down at her daughter, saw the terror still lingering in her eyes, and felt her resistance crumble. She hated it. Hated needing him. Hated that he was right. Fine. One night. Lucian's expression didn't change. However long it takes. 20 minutes later, Catherine and Lily sat in Lucian's car, a sleek black vehicle that probably cost more than Catherine had made in 5 years. Lily pressed her face against the window, watching the city pass by as they drove toward the estate on the hill, the place Catherine had been turned away from 2 decades ago. Lucian sat across from them, making notes on his phone, giving them space. Lily kept sneaking glances at him. Finally, she spoke up, her voice small but curious. Are you really a king? Lucian looked up, and something almost like amusement touched his features. Technically, I suppose. Though I prefer to think of myself as a very old man with very particular opinions about how things should be run. Do you live in a castle? Something close enough. Do you have a crown? Several. though they're mostly uncomfortable and outdated. Terrible fashion, crowns. Lily giggled, the sound breaking through some of the tension. Catherine's hand tightened on her daughter's shoulder. Lily, don't bother him. She's not bothering me. Lucian leaned forward slightly, his full attention on Lily in a way that most adults never gave children. Ask whatever you'd like. Do vampires really drink blood? Catherine tensed, but Lucian answered with perfect honesty. Yes. Though not the way stories suggest. We're not monsters hiding in shadows waiting to drain innocent people. A pause, a slight smile. Well, most of us aren't. There are always a few who give the rest of us a bad reputation. Like humans who talk in theaters. Lily giggled again. Does it hurt? When you bite? It can. Or it can feel like falling asleep. Depends on intent. His gaze flicked to Catherine. I try very hard not to hurt people who don't deserve it. The implication hung in the air. Catherine looked away. The estate came into view, and even Catherine, determined not to be impressed, felt her breath catch. It wasn't a castle, but it was close. Old stone architecture mixed with modern glass, surrounded by gardens that looked like something from a Gothic fairy tale. The car pulled up to entrance, and staff appeared immediately, opening doors, offering assistance. Lucian stepped out first, then offered his hand to Lily. She took it without hesitation, her small fingers disappearing in his grasp. He offered the same to Catherine. She ignored it, climbing out on her own, still weak but stubborn. Lucian's lips twitched. Respect flickered in his eyes. Elena, he addressed a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and efficient manner, please show our guests to the East Wing. 2 adjoining rooms. Make sure they have everything they need. The woman smiled warmly at Catherine and Lily. Of course, my lord. If you'll follow me? As they walked through hallways filled with art that belonged in museums, Lily's eyes grew wider and wider. This is where you live? All of this, just for you? Lucian had followed them, hands in his pockets, looking somehow both elegant and approachable. I have staff. And occasionally visitors. But yes, it's excessive. I've had a very long time to accumulate things. He glanced at a painting, something dark and beautiful from the Renaissance. Though I find the things you accumulate matter less than the things you protect. His eyes found Catherine's. Which is a lesson I learned far too late. Elena showed them to their rooms, which were more like suites. Lily ran from window to window, exclaiming over the view, the size, the enormous bed. Catherine stood in the doorway, looking lost. Lucian appeared beside her, careful to maintain distance. There's a library downstairs if you can't sleep. Kitchen is always open. You're not prisoners. You're guests. Catherine finally looked at him, really looked at him. Why are you doing this? Because a little girl asked me to save her mother, and I'm trying very hard to be worthy of the faith she showed in a monster. You keep calling yourself that. Because it's true. I've done monstrous things, Catherine. I will likely do more before I'm done. But perhaps, just this once, I can also do something right. He turned to leave, then paused. I can't give you back 20 years. I can't bring back your husband. But I can burn down the system that destroyed your family and make sure it never happens again. His voice dropped. And I can make the men responsible wish they'd never been born. That part, I promise you, will be deeply satisfying for us both. Despite everything, despite her anger and grief and exhaustion, Catherine felt something shift inside her chest. Maybe it was the absolute certainty in his voice. Maybe it was the darkness that lurked behind his civilized facade, the promise of brutal justice. Or maybe it was just that for the first time in 20 years, someone with actual power was on her side. You really mean it? You're going to destroy them? Every single one. Slowly. The smile that crossed his face was sharp and anticipating. I'm going to enjoy it far more than I should. Which probably says terrible things about me, but I stopped pretending to be civilized centuries ago. Good, Catherine said quietly. They deserve worse than whatever you do to them. Lucian's expression shifted, surprise and something almost like approval. We might understand each other after all, Mrs. Wells. He left her standing there, and for the first time since James died, Catherine felt something other than despair. She felt hope. And beneath it, dangerous and unexpected, the first stirrings of something else entirely. Morning came with soft light through expensive curtains. Catherine woke disoriented, forgetting for a moment where she was. Then memory crashed back. The hanging. The rescue. The attack. The Vampire King's estate. She sat up too quickly and immediately regretted it. Her throat still ached, her body still healing despite the vampire blood. A soft knock at the door. Come in. Elena entered with a tray of breakfast and a warm smile. Good morning. His lordship thought you might prefer to eat in your room while you recover. There's tea, fruit, pastries. The chef can make anything else you'd like. Catherine stared at the spread. It was more food than she usually had in a week. Where's Lily? In the gardens with Victor. He's teaching her about the koi pond. She's perfectly safe. Catherine started to rise, maternal panic overriding weakness. I should. Elena's hand on her shoulder was gentle but firm. She's safe. I promise. Victor raised 3 daughters. He knows how to mind a curious child. She poured tea with practiced ease. Eat. Recover. Your daughter needs you strong for what's coming. What is coming? The tribunal is tonight. Public. Every citizen invited to attend. His lordship is making sure everyone knows what's been happening in their city. Elena's expression turned approving. I've served him for 40 years. Never seen him like this. Focused. Righteous. It's like he's remembered something he'd forgotten. What? That he's not just a king. He's a protector. After Elena left, Catherine ate slowly, thinking. Through the window, she could see Lily in the garden below, laughing as Victor showed her how to feed the koi. Her daughter looked happy. Carefree. When had she last seen Lily laugh like that? Another knock. This time, Lucian's voice. May I come in? Catherine pulled a robe tighter around herself, suddenly aware she was wearing borrowed night clothes. Yes. Lucian entered carrying a wooden box, old and ornate. His expression was serious. I had my people dig deeper into your husband's case. I thought you should see what we found. He set the box on the table, opened it carefully. Inside were documents, photographs, a small leather journal. Catherine's hands trembled as she recognized James's handwriting on the journal. Where did you get this? From Holt's private safe. Victor is very talented at acquiring things people prefer to keep hidden. Lucian pulled out a photograph. It showed James, younger, smiling, standing in front of his pharmacy. Your husband was documenting the corruption. He'd figured out the entire operation. Who was involved, how they laundered money, which officials were compromised. He handed her the journal. He was building a case. Planning to bring it to the territorial authorities. Holt found out and moved first. Catherine's vision blurred with tears as she touched the journal, her husband's last thoughts preserved in ink. He was so good. So determined to do the right thing. Her voice broke. And they killed him for it. Lucian was quiet for a moment, then sat across from her with unusual hesitancy. May I tell you something I've never told anyone? Catherine looked up, surprised. I had a family once. A human family, before I was turned. A sister named Marie. She was 12 when the plague came to our village. His eyes grew distant, seeing another time. I was already turned, already strong, already immortal. I could have saved her. Should have saved her. But I was new, still learning control. I was terrified of hurting her, of losing control and draining her dry. His jaw tightened. So I stayed away. Told myself I was being noble, protecting her from the monster I'd become. And I listened from the woods as she died calling for me. Catherine's anger wavered, confronted with unexpected pain. I've had 400 years to regret that choice. 400 years to wonder if I could have saved her if I'd just been brave enough to try. He looked directly at Catherine. When Lily grabbed my coat and begged me to save you, I saw Marie. Saw the chance I didn't take. And I couldn't make the same mistake twice. You saved me for a ghost? I saved you for a little girl who deserved better than I gave my sister. And yes, maybe for myself too. Maybe I needed to prove I could be the person Marie thought I was before the world made me into this. He gestured at himself, at the expensive clothes and ancient power. Your husband died trying to expose corruption. Doing the right thing despite the cost. That takes courage I've rarely seen in 4 centuries. Catherine wiped her eyes, hating the tears, hating the vulnerability. He left us with nothing. I know that's selfish. I know he was being noble. But he left us alone and broke, and I've been so angry at him for 20 years. The words tumbled out, confession and guilt combined. I've been angry at you, at Holt, at the whole city. But mostly I've been angry at James for dying and leaving me to figure out how to survive without him. Lucian's expression softened with understanding. Grief and rage are close neighbors. You're allowed both. He stood, moved to the window. Tonight, we're going to finish what your husband started. Every name in that journal, every criminal who hid behind false law, they're going to face justice. What kind of justice? The kind that makes sure no one ever forgets what happens when you corrupt my city and hurt innocent people. He turned back to her, and his eyes held ancient promise. I'm going to give you a choice, Catherine. You can testify tonight, tell everyone what happened, help me dismantle this system. Or you can stay here, stay safe, and I'll handle it myself. Either way, they pay. But I thought you deserved the option to face them yourself. Catherine looked at the journal, at James's handwriting, at the evidence of his courage. Then she looked out the window at Lily, happy and safe for the first time in years. I'll testify. I want them to see my face. I want them to know they failed. Lucian smiled, and it was fierce and approving. Brave. Like your husband. Like your daughter. He moved toward the door, then paused. You're stronger than you know, Catherine Wells. Stronger than I was when I lost someone I loved. After he left, Catherine sat with her husband's journal and cried. Not from weakness. From the beginning of healing she hadn't known she needed. That afternoon, Catherine found Lucian in his study, surrounded by maps of the city and lists of names. He looked up when she entered, surprise flickering across his features. Feeling better? Stronger. Your blood is effective. An understatement. You were half dead 12 hours ago. Catherine moved closer, looking at the documents spread across his desk. Is this everyone involved? Everyone we can prove. Holt and his associates. The mayor. 6 judges. 14 guards who carried out executions they knew were false. 23 business owners who profited from seized assets. His finger traced a line connecting names. It's elegant, really. Terrible, but elegant. A complete corruption of every system meant to protect people. What will you do to them? Lucian leaned back, considering. What would you like me to do to them? Catherine was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was steady. I want them exposed. Humiliated. I want everyone to know what they did. I want their names to be synonyms for shame. And then I want them to feel as powerless as I felt watching my husband die. As scared as Lily was last night. Lucian's smile was slow and dark. I can arrange that. Though I should warn you, once you go down this path, there's no coming back. Revenge changes you. Good. I'm tired of being the victim. Something shifted in Lucian's expression. Respect, recognition, and something warmer. You know, I'm beginning to think your husband married extremely well. Before Catherine could respond, Lily burst through the door, Victor trailing behind with an apologetic expression. Mama, Victor says there are horses. Real horses. Can I see them? Please? Lucian stood smoothly. I can do better than that. Would you like to ride one? Lily's eyes went wide as moons. Really? You'd let me? I have a mare who's very gentle. Perfect for beginners. He glanced at Catherine. If your mother approves, of course. Catherine wanted to say no, to keep Lily close and safe. But she saw the hope in her daughter's eyes, the excitement that had been missing for so long. Stay with Victor. Listen to everything he says. Lily squealed and threw her arms around Catherine's waist before running back to Victor, chattering about horses. Victor caught Lucian's eye and smiled knowingly before following the excited child. Lucian watched them go with an expression Catherine couldn't quite read. You're good with her. I like children. They're honest. Refreshingly free of the pretense adults wrap themselves in. He moved toward the door. Come. You should see this. They walked through the estate to the stables, a beautiful stone building that smelled of hay and horses. Victor was already helping Lily onto a small chestnut mare, her gentle eyes and patient demeanor perfect for a nervous child. Lily's face was pure joy. Catherine stood next to Lucian, watching Victor lead the horse in slow circles around the paddock, Lily gripping the saddle with white knuckles and a huge smile. I can't remember the last time I saw her this happy. Lucian's voice was soft. Children shouldn't have to carry adult burdens. She's been brave for too long. Like her mother. Catherine glanced at him, found him watching Lily with unexpected tenderness. You really would have saved your sister, wouldn't you? If you could go back. Without hesitation. I'd have risked everything. His hands gripped the fence rail. People think immortality is a gift. They don't realize it means watching everyone you love die while you remain. It means carrying regrets for centuries with no escape. Is that why you stayed distant? From the city, from people? Partly. Also because caring about humans when you're immortal is like caring about mayflies. You'll outlive them all. Easier not to get attached. But Lily got through. Lucian's expression softened further. Lily saw a monster and asked him to be a hero. That takes either tremendous courage or tremendous faith. Either way, I couldn't disappoint her. He turned to Catherine. And you looked at me with such fury, such righteous anger, refusing to be grateful or impressed or intimidated. Do you know how rare that is? Most people are terrified of you. Most people should be. I'm objectively terrifying. There was a glimmer of humor in his eyes. But you were too angry to care. Too fierce in protecting your child. I faced down werewolf packs and rival vampire clans with less courage than you showed yesterday. Catherine felt heat rise in her cheeks. I was desperate. You were magnificent. The words hung between them, carrying weight Catherine wasn't ready to examine. Lily's laughter rang out as Victor showed her how to guide the horse. The sound was pure and clear, untainted by fear or grief. Thank you, Catherine said quietly. For this. For all of it. I know I've been ungracious. You've been honest. I prefer it. Lucian's shoulder brushed hers, casual but deliberate. I've spent centuries surrounded by people who tell me what they think I want to hear. Your anger is refreshing. That's a strange thing to appreciate. I'm a strange man. He watched Lily complete another circle, then added, Tonight will be difficult. Ugly. You'll hear things, see things that will bring back painful memories. I can handle it. I know you can. But you don't have to handle it alone. He looked at her directly. I meant what I said. I'm finishing what James started. But I'm also making sure you and Lily never have to be afraid again. Why? Catherine asked, the question she'd been holding since yesterday. Why do you really care? Lucian was quiet for a long moment, watching Lily's joy. Because for 400 years, I've been powerful and wealthy and feared. And I've been utterly, profoundly lonely. The admission cost him something. And then a little girl looked at me like I could be someone worth believing in. Like I could matter for something other than how effectively I can destroy my enemies. He smiled, sad and honest. I'd forgotten what that felt like. Having someone believe in you. Catherine's hand moved before she thought about it, covering his on the fence rail. She was right to believe in you. Lucian stared at their joined hands like he'd forgotten what human warmth felt like. Don't absolve me yet, Catherine. You haven't seen what I'm capable of. I've seen you save my life. Protect my daughter. Seek justice for my husband. That's enough. His fingers turned, intertwining with hers. You're far more forgiving than I deserve. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just tired of being angry all the time. She squeezed his hand. Maybe it's time we both stopped punishing ourselves for surviving. Lucian looked at her, really looked, and something in his ancient eyes shifted. The careful distance, the protective walls, they wavered. You're dangerous, Catherine Wells. Why? Because you make me want to be the man Lily thinks I am instead of the monster I know myself to be. Before Catherine could respond, Lily called out. Mama, look. I'm writing. I'm really writing. Catherine waved, smiling despite the complicated emotions churning in her chest. Lucian's hand remained in hers for another heartbeat before he gently pulled away. We should prepare. The tribunal begins at sunset. But something had changed between them. Something fragile and new, built on shared pain and unexpected understanding. Something neither of them was ready to name, but both felt growing stronger. Later, as Catherine dressed in clothes Elena had provided, elegant and strong, armor for facing her demons, she caught her reflection in the mirror. For the first time in 20 years, she didn't see a victim. She saw a survivor. A mother. A woman who'd climbed out of her own grave and decided to fight back. And standing in the shadows behind her metaphorically, literally waiting downstairs, was an immortal king who decided her fight was worth his power. It should have terrified her. Instead, it felt like hope. The town square was packed with hundreds of citizens, all gathered under hastily erected torches and lights. A platform had been constructed, and seated on it in chains were Holt and his associates, the mayor, the corrupt judges, and guards. They looked terrified. Lucian stood at the center of the platform, commanding attention without effort. He wore all black, elegant and dangerous, every inch the vampire king. Catherine stood to his right, Lily safely back at the estate with Elena and extra guards. Victor read the charges, his voice carrying across the silent crowd. Corruption, murder, theft, conspiracy. The list went on and on. Then came the evidence. James's journal, read aloud. Financial records displayed on screens. Testimony from other victims who'd finally found the courage to speak. Catherine watched Holt's face as his crimes were exposed. Watched him realize there was no escape, no reprieve. Lucian had promised justice. He was delivering destruction. When it was Catherine's turn to speak, she walked to the front of the platform. Her voice shook at first, then grew stronger. She told them about James. About the pharmacy. About watching her husband executed for crimes he didn't commit while the real criminals applauded. About 20 years of poverty and struggle and fear. My daughter is 7 years old. She's never known security. She's never known peace. Because these men decided profit was worth more than human lives. Her gaze found Holt. You took everything from me. My husband. My home. My future. Her voice hardened. But you didn't break me. And you didn't break her. And now everyone knows what you are. The crowd's anger was palpable, growing with each revelation. Lucian let it build, let the fury spread, then raised his hand for silence. The law they corrupted will now judge them. Every verdict will be reviewed. Every execution re-examined. And anyone found guilty of these crimes will face appropriate punishment. His smile was sharp. And because they operated under my protection, used my name as a shield, I will personally oversee their sentences. He looked at Holt directly. I've existed for 4 centuries. I've learned many ways to make time pass very, very slowly for people who've earned my displeasure. The threat was clear. But then, from the back of the crowd, a voice shouted, "Why should we trust you? You let this happen. You're just as guilty." Lucian's expression didn't change, but Catherine saw his jaw tighten. Another voice joined. "You ignored us for decades. Now you pretend to care." More voices, building on each other. "You're a monster. Why should we believe anything you say?" The crowd was turning, anger redirecting. Catherine saw Lucian's hands flex, saw the dangerous darkness cross his features. And then she saw something else. Hurt. Hidden quickly, but there. He'd known this might happen. Had prepared for rage from the corrupt officials. But being rejected by the people he was trying to protect, that cut deeper. One of the judges, sensing opportunity, stood despite his chains. He's right. The vampire has ruled through fear for 300 years. He doesn't care about justice. This is just theater. The crowd's mood shifted dangerously. Lucian's eyes went black. Catherine felt the temperature drop, felt power rolling off him in waves. When he spoke, his voice carried ancient authority. "You want honesty? Fine." He stepped forward, and people in the front rows backed away instinctively. "I am a monster. I've killed more people than most of you can count. I've done terrible things for reasons both good and evil. And yes, I've ruled this city with distance and occasional cruelty." His voice rose. "But these men," he gestured to the chained officials, "they're human. They had choices. They chose greed. Chose murder. Chose to hide behind law and order while destroying innocent lives." He moved to the edge of the platform. "I'm a vampire. Predator and power are in my nature. What's their excuse?" The judge spoke again, desperate now. "At least we're honest about what we are. You pretend to be civilized while..." Lucian moved faster than human eyes could track. Suddenly he was in front of the judge, gripping his throat, lifting him effortlessly. "I pretend nothing. I am exactly what I appear to be. A very old, very dangerous creature who's finally remembered why I claimed this territory in the first place." He dropped the man, who collapsed gasping. "Not to rule. To protect." He turned back to the crowd. "But you're right. I failed. I was complacent. Lazy. I assumed humans could govern themselves without my interference." His expression hardened. "Clearly, I was wrong." Catherine saw what was happening. Saw him retreating behind walls, becoming the distant king again, the monster who ruled through fear. She moved without thinking, stepping forward to stand beside him. Lucian glanced at her, surprise breaking through his anger. Catherine addressed the crowd, her voice steady. "3 days ago, they hung me for a crime I didn't commit. My 7-year-old daughter begged this man to save me." She gestured to Lucian. "He didn't have to help. I was nothing to him. A stranger. A human in a city full of humans." Her voice grew stronger. "But he came. He cut me down. He gave me his blood, which is forbidden. And when assassins tried to finish what the hanging started, he protected us." She looked at Lucian. "Is he dangerous?" "Yes." "Is he ruthless?" "Absolutely. But when everyone else in the city let corruption flourish, when all of you stayed silent while innocent people were executed, he's the one who stood up." Catherine turned back to the crowd. "So before you judge him, ask yourselves, where were you? Where was your courage? Your justice?" The square had gone silent. "At least he's doing something. Which is more than the rest of us can say." She stepped back, her heart pounding. Lucian stared at her, something raw and unguarded in his expression. Then Holt laughed, ugly and desperate. How touching. The vampire's new pet defending him. "Tell me, Catherine, what did he promise you? Money? Protection?" His voice dripped venom. "Or did you just spread your legs for the monster like a good little?" He never finished. Lucian's hand went through Holt's chest, stopping just short of his heart. The man screamed. "Finish that sentence." Lucian's voice was death itself. "And I'll show this crowd what I really am." He leaned closer. "You murdered her husband. Tried to murder her. Tried to murder her child. And you think you have the right to insult her?" His fingers tightened. "I've been civilized tonight. Given you a trial. Shown restraint. But my patience has limits." He pulled his hand free, letting Holt collapse. Then he turned to Catherine, and she saw fury and gratitude and something desperate in his eyes. "You shouldn't have defended me." "Why not?" "Because they're right. I am a monster. And you're making me want to be something I can never be." His voice dropped so only she could hear. "You're making me hope, Catherine. And hope is dangerous for creatures like me." Before she could respond, he addressed the crowd again, his voice cold and final. "The tribunal is over. These men will be sentenced according to their crimes. You want a monster for a king? Fine. I'll be exactly that. He looked at Catherine one last time. Take her back to the estate. Make sure she's safe. Then he was gone, disappeared into the shadows, leaving Catherine on the platform surrounded by crowds and corruption and the echoing feeling that something precious had just shattered. Victor appeared at her side. Come. It's not safe here. But Catherine stood frozen, staring at the space where Lucian had been, feeling the loss of something she hadn't even known she'd found. And in her chest, her heart broke for a lonely king who couldn't let himself be saved. The estate was silent when Catherine returned. Elena met her at the door, worry etched on her face. Lily is sleeping. She doesn't know what happened. Good. Where is he? Elena hesitated. He hasn't returned. Victor says he's gone to the old tower. He goes there when he needs to be alone. Catherine nodded and started toward the stairs. Mrs. Wells, Elena's voice stopped her. In 40 years, I've never seen him like this. Whatever happened tonight, it broke something in him. Catherine's hand gripped the railing. Where's the old tower? Elena's eyes widened. You can't. When he's like this, he's dangerous. Even to people he cares about. Where is it? The older woman studied her for a long moment, then sighed. East wing. Past the library. Stone stairs leading up. But please, be careful. He's not himself. Catherine found her daughter first, sleeping peacefully in the enormous bed. A stuffed horse Victor must have given her tucked under her arm. She smoothed Lily's hair, pressed a kiss to her forehead. Then she went to find the monster. The tower stairs were narrow and winding, worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. Torches flickered in iron brackets, casting dancing shadows on ancient stone. At the top, she found an open door leading to a circular room. Windows looked out over the city below, lights twinkling like fallen stars. Lucian stood at the far window, his back to her, still in his blood-stained clothes from the tribunal. His hands were braced against the stone frame, tension visible in every line of his body. You should be resting. His voice was flat, empty. We need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. Tomorrow my people will escort you to a safe house outside the city. You'll have money, protection, a new identity if you want one. He still didn't turn. You and Lily can start over somewhere I can't touch you. Is that what you think I want? It's what you should want. His voice cracked slightly. I almost killed a man tonight. In front of hundreds of people. In front of you. Proving everything they said about me. He deserved worse. That's not the point. Lucian finally turned, and Catherine's breath caught. His eyes were red-rimmed, haunted. He looked ancient and broken in a way she hadn't seen before. The point is that you stood there defending me, calling me protector, and I responded by ripping a man's chest open. I'm exactly what they said I am. He laughed bitterly. You should run, Catherine. Take your daughter and run as far as you can. Catherine moved closer, ignoring every instinct screaming that this was dangerous. Why? Because I care about you. Both of you. The words came out like they hurt him. And everyone I care about ends up destroyed. My sister. My family. Everyone who's ever gotten close to me. He turned back to the window. I thought I could be different this time. Thought maybe if I just tried hard enough, did enough good, I could earn something more than fear and loneliness. His shoulders slumped. But I can't change what I am. For 100 years and I'm still the same monster who let his sister die. Catherine closed the remaining distance between them, standing close enough to touch. Look at me. No. Lucian, look at me. Something in her voice made him turn. His expression was guarded, defensive, waiting for condemnation. Catherine reached up and touched his face. He flinched like she'd burned him. I watched you save my life with your own blood. I watched you take in strangers because a child asked you to. I watched you expose 20 years of corruption and make powerful men tremble. Her thumb traced the sharp line of his cheekbone. And yes, I watched you nearly kill a man who deserved it for insulting me and threatening my family. She held his gaze. You know what I saw in all of that? Someone fighting. Someone trying to be better despite 400 years of pain. Someone who's forgotten that redemption isn't about being perfect. Lucian's hand came up to cover hers, trembling. I don't know how to be good, Catherine. I only know how to be powerful. Then let me teach you. Her voice softened. Let us teach you. Lily already thinks you're a hero. And I'm starting to think she might be right. You barely know me. I know you gave up forbidden blood to save a stranger. I know you took us in when you could have walked away. I know you're standing here torturing yourself because you're terrified of hurting people you care about. She stepped even closer. That's not what monsters do, Lucian. That's what good men do when they've forgotten their own worth. Lucian closed his eyes, and when he opened them, they glistened. I don't deserve this. Your forgiveness. Your kindness. Maybe not. But Lily and I don't deserve to lose someone else we're starting to care about either. Catherine's heart hammered in her chest. She was taking a risk, opening doors she'd kept locked for 20 years. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to stop hiding in this tower. You're going to come downstairs and have dinner with us like a normal person. And tomorrow, we're going to figure out how to rebuild the city together. And if I hurt you? If the monster wins? Then we'll deal with it. Together. She took his hand, lacing their fingers. I spent 20 years alone, Lucian. Afraid and angry and convinced that trusting anyone would only lead to more pain. Her voice dropped. You made me brave enough to testify in front of hundreds of people. To face the men who destroyed my family. To hope again. She squeezed his hand. Let me do the same for you. Lucian stared at her like she was speaking a language he'd forgotten existed. His walls cracked, crumbled. And finally, slowly, he nodded. I don't know how to do this. Neither do I. But I'm tired of being alone. Aren't you? His answer was barely a whisper. Desperately. Then stop pushing me away. She tugged his hand. Come on. Your chef probably made something incredible, and I haven't eaten since breakfast. A ghost of humor crossed his features. You're very bossy for someone who was nearly executed 2 days ago. I died and came back. That gives me permission to be whatever I want. Despite everything, Lucian almost smiled. I suppose that's fair. They walked down the tower stairs together, hand in hand, and Catherine felt something shift in the universe. Something clicking into place. 20 years of grief. 4 centuries of loneliness. Both ending in a stone tower because a little girl had been brave enough to ask a monster for help. She thought about that moment in the square. Lily's small hand on his coat. The desperate plea. Save her. He had. And now, maybe, she could save him too. Let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this. Have you ever met someone who made you believe you could be better than you are? Someone who saw past all your walls and flaws and believed in you anyway? What did they mean to you? Tell me in the comments, because I think we've all had that person, or maybe we're still searching for them. 3 months later, the city was unrecognizable. The corrupt officials were gone, sentenced to years of labor rebuilding what they'd destroyed. The mayor had been replaced by a council elected by citizens. James Wells's name had been cleared publicly, a memorial statue erected in the square where he'd been wrongfully executed. And in the Vampire King's estate, something even more remarkable had taken shape. Catherine stood in the garden, watching Lily race across the lawn with 3 other children, the daughters of estate staff who'd become her constant companions. The sound of their laughter echoed off ancient stones. A familiar presence appeared beside her. She's getting faster, Lucian observed. Victor says she has natural athletic ability. She wants to learn sword fighting now. Apparently one of the guards has been teaching her basic stances. Lucian's eyebrow rose. Should I be concerned that my 7-year-old houseguest is training for combat? She's not a houseguest anymore. Catherine turned to face him, and the words that had been building for weeks finally surfaced. Neither am I. Lucian's expression shifted, hope and fear mingling. What are you saying? I'm saying that 3 months ago, I died in that square. And you brought me back. Not just physically. She reached for his hand. You gave us a home. Safety. Purpose. You've spent every day since the tribunal proving that you're not the monster you think you are. Catherine. Let me finish. She stepped closer, close enough to feel the unusual coolness of his skin. I loved James. Part of me will always love James. But he's been gone for 20 years, and I've spent every one of those years alone because I was too scared to let anyone in. Her voice trembled but held. I'm not scared anymore. Lucian's hand came up to cup her face with impossible gentleness. I'm 400 years old, Catherine. I'll outlive you. Outlive Lily. I'll bury everyone I love eventually. Then make the time we have count. She covered his hand with hers. Teach Lily everything you know. Build something beautiful in this city. Love us for whatever years we have. Her eyes glistened. Stop punishing yourself for being immortal and start living like someone who deserves happiness. You make it sound simple. It is simple. It's just not easy. She smiled through her tears. But nothing worth having ever is. Lucian was quiet for a long moment, centuries of loneliness and loss playing across his features. Then something shifted. Something settled. He pulled a small box from his pocket. Old, ornate, clearly ancient. This belonged to my mother. Before the plague. Before everything. He opened it to reveal a ring, silver and sapphire, delicate and timeless. I've been carrying it for 400 years, waiting for someone brave enough to make me believe in forever again. His voice dropped. I didn't think I'd ever find her. Catherine's breath caught. Is this what I think it is? It's whatever you want it to be. A promise. A beginning. A choice to stop being alone. He slipped the ring onto her finger, and it fit perfectly. Marry me, Catherine. Let me spend whatever time we have proving that monsters can learn to love. From across the garden, Lily's voice rang out. Mama. Mama, look what I can do. They both turned to watch as Lily performed a surprisingly competent cartwheel, landing with arms raised in triumph. Victor applauded from the sidelines. Catherine laughed, joy bubbling up from somewhere she'd forgotten existed. She looked at Lucian, at the ring on her finger, at her daughter safe and happy and thriving. Then she pulled him down and kissed him, soft and sure and full of promise. When they broke apart, Lucian's eyes were bright with emotion he'd spent centuries suppressing. Is that a yes? It's a yes. She took his hand and started walking toward Lily. Now come on. Your future stepdaughter wants to show off, and I have a feeling you're going to be the most embarrassingly proud father figure in the history of vampire royalty. Lucian's expression softened with something that looked suspiciously like wonder. I've conquered kingdoms, fought wars, survived 4 centuries of violence and loss. He watched Lily spot them approaching and wave enthusiastically. None of it compares to this. They reached Lily, who immediately grabbed Lucian's hand with her free one. Did you see? Victor says I'm a natural. He says if I practice, I can learn flips. Flips seem dangerous, Catherine said mildly. Everything fun is dangerous, Mama. That's what makes it fun. Lucian laughed, genuine and warm. She has a point. Don't encourage her. But Catherine was smiling too. The 3 of them walked back toward the estate, Lily chattering happily between them, and watching from the steps, Victor caught Elena's eye. Never thought I'd see it, Elena murmured. What? Him happy. Actually, genuinely happy. Victor smiled. That little girl did what armies couldn't. She made him remember how to love. As the small family disappeared inside, the sun set over the city, painting everything golden rose. In the square, the memorial to James Wells caught the last light, his name carved in stone for everyone to see. And somewhere, somehow, Catherine felt him watching. Not with jealousy or regret. With peace. She'd survived. Lily had survived. And the man who'd saved them had found something worth living for after 4 centuries of merely existing. Some endings aren't endings at all. They're beginnings that were worth waiting for. That night, after Lily was asleep and the estate had gone quiet, Catherine stood at the window of the room that had become hers, the ring glinting on her finger. Lucian appeared behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. Having second thoughts? No. She leaned back against him. Just thinking about how strange life is. 3 days ago I was dying in a noose. Now I'm engaged to the vampire king. When you say it like that, it does sound rather dramatic. Lily grabbed your coat and asked you to save me. She reached up to touch his face. And you did. He turned her in his arms, pressing his forehead to hers. You saved me too, Catherine. You and Lily. You reminded me that power means nothing without something worth protecting. His voice dropped. You gave me a family again. I'd forgotten what that felt like. She kissed him softly. We've got time to remember. Together. And for the first time in 400 years, Lucian Ashford believed in forever. Before you click away, I need to say something. I poured my heart into this story. Stayed up late. Rewrote scenes. Made sure every moment hit exactly right. If this story made you feel something, anything at all, then please don't just leave. Hit that subscribe button. Join this family we're building, the fastest growing vampire love stories community on YouTube. You watched a little girl save her mother and a lonely king find love. You stayed for 40 minutes because this story meant something to you. Don't be the person who leaves without showing love to the channel. 1 click. That's all it takes. 1 click tells me this mattered to someone out there. We have so many more stories coming. Darker ones. Sweeter ones. Stories that will break your heart and put it back together. Subscribe so you don't miss them. Because you're not just a viewer anymore. You're part of this. And I don't want to lose you.